Good morning, Yu-Gi-Oh players and card collectors of all kinds. Welcome back to the channel. As you saw in the introduction, it is Super Deck, except Monday, not Sunday, of course. Because it's too hot to record on the Sunday, and, well, actually, no. It wasn't so much that it was too hot yesterday, it was that it was, because of the rain, Kaiba was soaked. I wasn't in the best of moods for it, and then we got home and shit was just the way it was at home, and it was like, fudge that, we're not recording Super Deck Sunday today, we're gonna wait till tomorrow when we're in better mood. And although work was really kind of crap to a certain extent, it was also okay-ish, so the biggest downside was it's a Monday and we only got 3 hours and 15 minutes, well, that's what I got, so most people probably got less than 3.5 hours, so still not super great for a Monday. Mondays we used to get like 4 hours to 4.5, sometimes even 5, so, or even overtime. So this wasn't the best one for sure. But it is what it is, and I'm not here to complain about work. I am here to do a deck profile. But first, before we get into the deck profile, over here, I am going to put up a picture of the man, the myth, the legend, Cimoo! I put up a post about a week and a half ago-ish now about the fact that this man had passed away. He passed away from complications due to cancer. As far as I know, his disease was similar, the same that my cousin had. I had a cousin who passed away about 4 years ago now from that disease. And so, on a personal note, it really hit home hearing that he had died from that on that relation. But in addition to that, as a main content creator, I think he was one of the very first content creators even of Yu-Gi-Oh! You've got to give him props for all the things that he did, all the foundations he laid for card players. I don't personally play Yu-Gi-Oh! Myself anymore, except for fun by myself, like at home, but I cannot deny that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is definitely the roots that I draw my card game heritage from. I dabbled in Pokemon for like a year and a half, but it wasn't really my jam. As soon as Yu-Gi-Oh! Came out, that was the thing I got into, and I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! From the get-go. I've been playing it for over 25 years, and even though I don't play anymore per se, like I said, I can't state with... There's not enough... I don't think I could do it justice to put into words how much this man meant to our community of content creators. And I personally didn't get into YouTube until, like, not my account where I'm actually making videos and stuff, but I personally didn't get into YouTube in general, watching stuff on YouTube, until about 2017, when my 2018, when my fiance insisted that I should get data for my phone so that I could help with the navigation and stuff back and forth from our home to Chisasibi for work. And so I started watching YouTube videos then, and I'll admit that the first series that I got into wasn't something that Cimoo made. It was actually something that... One second. Oh, man. Okay, so, take two. I actually had to stop the video because there was a security guard who came by just to see what I was doing over here. I'm actually waiting for the Dollarama to open, but I parked over by the beer store again because of the shade. And so that doesn't open until like 9:30, 10. So it seems a little awkward that I'm parked over here. But once I explained it, he seemed cool with what I was doing. So we should be good to continue. Unfortunately, I actually hit record and started recording again. And I guess I set up the camera wrong because my phone reset itself instead of recording the video. So I sat here and rambled for like 10 minutes for no apparent reason. And now I'm a little annoyed by that. And I'm getting a little annoyed by the crowds, or the noise from the cars too. So I'm just gonna adjust the windows somewhat, and here we go. All right, so as I was saying, when I originally got into YouTube, I was following a channel called Ruggles, and Ruggles was playing another channel called something to do with gaming. I can't remember his name, shoot, but I'm gonna have all the links in the description. Anyways, they started a series called 1v1 sealed only, and I got super heavy into that, and because I got heavy into that, I eventually found my way to the original series that all of those kinds of series are based on, which is the progression series that Cimoo and Nhymnim made. I think that's, or no, we were going to go with Gage. See, remember, we're calling him Gage because I can't pronounce his channel name for the life of me. Anyways, so the progression series was an amazing one on Cimo's channel and the other channel, where those two guys basically would crack a box of the original Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and they made a deck, and they dueled, and then the winner got a prize, and the following episode, they would crack a new box of the next set up. And so they went from the very first set all the way to, I can't remember what set they ended on the series on, but they went for a really long time. And it's a crazy fun series. I loved watching it, as well as the 1v1. So like that was the kind of content that like really got me into Yu-Gi-Oh content and got me into eventually Magic content with the professor as well. And eventually they're all the kinds of people who inspired me to want to do this myself. So I wouldn't be here without Cimoo, without Ruggles, without the professor, like all that jazz. So that's why I wanted to do this tribute video to Cimoo, and that's why this Super Deck Monday is going to be a Yu-Gi-Oh video. With that said, I do have my Yu-Gi-Oh deck here that we're going to profile in a minute, and I think that this is one that Cimoo would have really enjoyed seeing, although it isn't technically a legal deck, of course, because my decks are forbidden. But I think that he would have liked this one because it's something that he ran a lot in that progression series. So yeah, when he got to that, when eventually they got to the set that had these cards, that is. Anywho, what I actually wanted to also do though was I wanted to crack a pack in Cimo's honor. And so I thought a lot about it, and I was originally going to buy a Yu-Gi-Oh pack to crack because he was a Yu-Gi-Oh player, of course. But ultimately I decided that the only pack that I really would be interested in cracking is the set that came out recently that has all the full art old school cards in it that can be serialized, if I remember correctly, but don't necessarily have to be. But I would love to crack one of those and get a really cool card, but that said, it just isn't worth investing in because I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. So ultimately it was like, you know what, that's not really the point of cracking a pack. I think the point of cracking a pack is to crack it to get the excitement out of it. And so today, in Cimo's honor, we are going to crack a pack of Ninja Turtles at the end of this video. But first, we are going to look at this deck profile. So like I say, this is a deck that I think Cimoo would have really liked to see because it's a deck that he did run quite frequently, but and did a lot of improvements on himself. My version is going to be way different, of course, because I have a lot more cards in here, first off, than the 40 card limit. But this deck we are profiling today is none other than my Blackwings deck. Now, I could have swore we did this on Super Deck Sunday before, but I went back through the catalog and for the life of me, I couldn't find an episode of it. So I'm thinking I must have done it as a Forbidden Deck profile, but I don't think I actually did it in this series yet. If I have, I apologize for you guys having to sit through it twice. But it is one of my favorite decks, and I think, like I say, this is one that Cimoo would have really enjoyed seeing, so that's why we're going to go through it today. So, I have 2 copies of Blackwing Dragon. This one is limited edition. I like this one a lot. I have Blackwing Full Armor Master. I believe I have 2 copies. 3 copies of that, pardon me. I have the Silverwind Ascendant. I have 2 copies of that one. One of them is first edition. I've got the Blackwing Tamer, which is kind of neat. I like the foiling on that one. I have Blackwing Armor Master in threefold. And this one is special. So we've got the original printing in first edition. We've got the gold first edition. And we've got the 25th century version. Just gonna take that one out so you guys can actually see the stamp up close, because I love the stamps on these. They're so special. This was actually like the last one of the last sets that I actually bought into, so it was really cool pulling a few of those 25th century cards for sure. We also have a Nhymnim of Starlight, or Nothung. I'm not exactly sure how you would pronounce that one, to be honest. Oops, careful with the Starlight. We have a Blackwing Boreas Storm, the Wicked one, Wicked Wind, blah 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 blah, which is also a tuner, which is kind of cool. We got Armwing. Got 3 copies of Armwing, including a first edition, and a Blackwing Graham the Shining Star to finish off. And then, just for shits and giggles, my extra deck also has 3 copies of Castel the Sky Blaster Musketeer. There's a few extra Wing Beast monsters that are not Blackwings in this deck, but the main reason why I have this in here is largely because I just thought it was kind of neat, the 3 Musketeers. And I didn't have a better deck to put them in, so... speaking of things that are not Blackwings, we're going to go through all the non-Blackwing stuff first, and then we're going to get into the Blackwing stuff. So, you'll have to be patient a little bit, but we're getting there, Let's see all the non-Blackwing stuff, though. We got a copy of Blistering Winds, because a lot of these Blackwing monsters could use a little bit of help with their attack and defense. We've got a Heavy Storm. I tried to make this very thematic, this deck. So there's a lot of wind related cards in this deck that if it isn't a Blackwing card, that's the reason it's in here. Although Spellbound is not a wind related card, I will admit that, but Spellbound is a pretty freaking good one. All face-up monsters your opponent currently controls cannot be attributed or used for material for Fusion, Synchron, Ekura, XYZ, or Link summon until the end of this turn. So basically just locks them out for a turn, which is really nice. Pod Duality, pretty solid one there. Called by the Grave. Okay, fair enough. Some of these aren't wind related. I just realized after the fact. Solidarity is in here because I think every single card in here actually is a wing beast. So, Icarus Attack. I like that one actually. You can give up a wing beast and get rid of a couple cards on the opponent's side of the field. And it doesn't have to be spells and traps, which is nice. It can be anything, so. Windstorm of Ektaqua. Sorry? I like this one too. I've always thought that this was a fun card to play as a trap. Just completely shuts down the battle on one turn. Gift of the Mystical Elf. Decent way to just get a little bit of life back. Nitwit Outwit is a funny one. You discard one monster to target a face-up monster, discard one monster to target one face-up monster on the field, and it loses attack equal to the discard monster's original attack, which is kind of neat. Rivalry of Warlords. That's a hard one for me to say. Each player can only control one type of monster. This is another fun way to shut down my opponents if they have an archetype that has a variety of different creature types. This will completely lock them out. Whereas I'll be able to play everything in my deck because everything is a wing beast. And now there's just a few extra wing beast monsters that I tossed in because I thought they were cute or helpful. This one is particularly nice because you can get a tuner from your deck. Caligo Clawcrow is an interesting one. If you control a dark monster, you can actually special summon this immediately. You can only do it once per turn, but I only have one copy of it in here. It's largely in here so that you can have an extra body on board for synchro summoning right away. Battlestorm is a pretty decent one. It gets 100 attack for each wing beast type monster you control, so it does include itself in theory, which is nice. So it would become an 1800 automatically as long as it's on the field. And then once per turn, you can target one spell or trap an opponent controls and destroy it. But you have to have at least 3 or more wing beast type monsters on the field to resolve that effect. So still plausible, but Miss Valley Falcon is a nice one. It's got a solid attack, but it can only actually attack an opponent if you return a creature you control to your hand, or a card you control to your hand. This is a good way to get back some extra continuous spells and traps, though, if they've run out or something, or it's also just a good way to get field spells back, whatever you want. You can replay a tuner, etc., etc. And then a Swarm of Crows. I've just always liked this one because of the flip effect. It cannot be special summoned from the deck, but once per turn you can change this thing to face down defense position. And then when it's flip summoned, you can discard one random card from your opponent's hand. So it's just a nice way to pillage their resources at random, unless they're willing to attack into it. And it has an 1800 butt, so it's kind of decent. Not amazing, but decent enough that it probably will survive an attack. Unless it's getting hit by something that's been synchro summoned or XYZ summoned or whatever, you know what I mean? Next up, we're going to look at the tuners. And then we're going to look at the regular Blackwings. And then I have one little special add-in at the end of the deck that is also not a Blackwing, but is my favorite card in the deck, to be perfectly honest, because it was one of the first things I pulled in that set that I thought was really cool. So, anywho, before we look at the tuners, we are going to look at one of the other magic cards that I've included in this deck that is not a Blackwing card. It is the Synchronized Realm. I think that this one's just way too good not to include in this deck. Almost all the things I'm doing are synchro summoning, and so every time I synchro summon a monster, I'm going to deal 500 damage to my opponent. That's just gravy. That's just gravy in this deck. Alright, let's get into our tuners. We've got 2 Blackwing Gale the Whirlwinds. One of them is a first edition. We've got 3 copies of Blizzard the Far North. One of them is a limited edition. That one's kind of a weird, zoomed in almost artwork, it looks like. But anyway, we've got 2 copies of Breeze the Zephyr. Oh, I should go over what these things do. I'm sorry. If you control a Blackwing monster other than this thing, you can special summon this thing from your hand. So it's, again, just a super fast way to be able to synchro summon in this deck. And then once per turn, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, and that target's attack and defense become half of what it is currently. So that one's pretty good. I should actually have 3 copies of that, but I seem to have misplaced one, I think. I'm pretty sure there used to be 3. Maybe I took one out, but I thought there was 3. Anywho, I couldn't find the 3rd one, unfortunately. Blizzard the Far North cannot be special summoned, and if it's normal summoned, you can special summon the level 4 lower Blackwing monster from your graveyard. So again, just helps you get synchro summoning faster. Zephyr, when this thing is added from your deck to your hand by an effect of a spell, trap, or monster, you can special summon it immediately. So again, just synchro summoning right away. It cannot be used for a synchro material monster. Cannot be used as a synchro material monster except for synchro summon of a Blackwing monster, though, unfortunately. But I mean, that's all I have in this deck anyways. Blackwing Jin the Rain Shadow. I only have 1 copy of this one, but it's kind of a neat one. When it battles a face-up monster with a defense equal to or less than this card's attack, that monster automatically gets destroyed. Without doing damage calculation, and therefore I don't think it actually technically gets destroyed by battle in that case. Blackwing Steam the Cloak. I only have 1 copy of this one as well. When it leaves the field, you special summon a Steam token. And then when this thing is in your graveyard, you contribute 1 monster, special summon this thing from your graveyard. You can only use this effect once per duel, though. And then if this thing is summoned this way and used as a synchro monster, all the other materials must be Blackwing monsters. So It's a little tricky, but it's still a decent one in this deck for sure. I definitely think I'm missing some cards from this deck, though. I'm going to go home and recount the number in this deck later on, because I think that there should be another copy of this, too. Could have swore there were 2 copies of this. Mistral the Silver Shield. 100 and 1800 is the defense, which is why I like this one. If this card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, reduce the battle damage you take from the next attack this turn to 0. So that one's a pretty good one if you're going to take a direct attack. We've got a Kogagashi, the Wanderer. 2300, 1600. Pretty solid stat line for a level 6 creature. When a Blackwing monster you control is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, except during your damage step, you can special summon this from your hand. When a monster is synchro summoned using this card as synchro material, the opponent of this card's owner can't activate cards or effects in response. So pretty cool. Then we got a Hurricane the Tornado. Once per turn, you can target one synchro monster on the field. This card's attack becomes that monster's attack until end of turn. The current attack of that monster at the time you trigger the ability. Orochi the Squall. If you control a Blackwing monster other than this thing, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only do that once per turn this way, and then if this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can target one monster on the field and change that card's battle position. So, pretty cool. We've got a Kochi the Daybreak. If it's special summoned, it cannot be used as a synchro material, so that kind of sucks. You have to play this one at like a slower speed, but there's still other cards that can help that one along anyways. And I mean, I just wanted to kind of include like all the different Blackwings that I could potentially that I owned. And finally, a Blackwing Hillen the Tengu Wind. This one's got a crazy butt, but no attack, so that's kind of disturbing. When you take 2,000 or more battle damage from your opponent's monster's direct attack while this card is in your graveyard, you can select a level 3 or lower Blackwing monster, special summon that card and this card from the graveyard. Their effects are negated. Each player can only use this effect once per duel. I think you can still synchro summon with those 2 cards, though. They just won't have any actual effects on the field. So, yeah. Solid lineup for the tuners. Now, let's get into the big boys, though. You know what? I was originally going to do spells and traps first, but I'm going to do spells and traps last, because I'm really interested in getting into the creatures. So, here we go. We got Aurora, the Northern Lights. This one's a fun one. It can't be normal summoned or set. It has to be special summoned by removing 2 face-up monsters you control, 1 Blackwing tuner and 1 non-tuner. And then once per turn, you can remove a Blackwing synchro monster from your extra deck, and this card's name, attack, and effects become the same as that card until the end phase. So if you're having trouble synchro summoning, this is just an interesting way to be able to still access your extra deck. Okay. Yeah, I did organize this. I was going to say, I thought I had 2 copies of that too. I'm definitely going to have to go home and count this, because I either added some more cards in, which makes a certain sort of sense. I did get a few extra Blackwings later after I had originally built this deck, so it's possible. But, anywho, I thought I had 2 copies of this guy. Kalute the Moonshadow. 1400, 1000. When a Blackwing monster you control attacks or is attacked, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, and then that monster gets 1400. You have that monster gain 1400 extra attack until the end phase. So you basically can protect one of your monsters by sending that to the graveyard from your hand. During damage calculation, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to prevent a Blackwing monster you control from being destroyed by battle. You'll still take the damage, but it'll keep the creature alive. You can remove from play this card from your graveyard to select 1 face-up Blackwing monster you control. If that monster attacks this turn, you take no battle damage from that battle. It's not destroyed by that battle, and you destroy the opponent's monster that it battled after damage calculation. So you could send in something super weak and take no damage by getting rid of this, which is kind of cool. I do have 2 copies of Etesian of the 2 Swords. If a Blackwing monster you control battles an opponent's monster, and that opponent's monster is still on the field at the end of the damage step, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. Otherwise, it's got 1600 defense, which is pretty decent too. I've got 2 copies of Zephyros the Elite in the deck. If it's in your graveyard, you can return 1 face-up card you control to your hand to special summon this card from your graveyard and take 400 damage, but you can only do that once per duel. Unfortunately, that means the second copy can't do that if you've done that already with the first copy, but it's still a decent 1600 and 1000 creature. We have 3 copies of Bora the Spear. If you control a Blackwing monster other than this thing, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then if this card attacks a defense position monster, you inflict piercing battle damage, which is pretty good. And that's why I have 3 copies of it. I have 2 copies of Fane the Steel Chain. It can attack your opponent directly. When it attacks your opponent directly, if it inflicts battle damage to them, you can take 1 attack position monster they control and switch it to defense mode. 2 copies of Kalima the Haze. During your opponent's battle phase, if you control no monsters, you can remove from play this card from the graveyard to select 1 synchro monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So pretty solid all around. You have to remove that monster at the end of the turn, but I mean, or at the end of the battle phase, sorry, but. And then it has 1800 defense, so I mean, it's still something to put out also on the field. We've got 2 copies of Ghibli, the Searing Wind. When your opponent declares a direct attack, you can special summon this thing from your hand, and then once per turn, you can switch the attack and defense of this card. I've got a Gust, the Back Blast, sorry. If you control no cards, you can special summon this thing from your hand. And while it's face up on the field, if your opponent's monster attacks a Blackwing monster you control, the attacking monster loses 300 attack during the damage step, automatically. I've got only 1 copy of him, too. I'm definitely going to have to redo the count on this and make sure that I'm not missing cards. I could have swore there was 2 copies of Shura the Blue Flame in this deck, but oh well. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Blackwing monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck. And then negate that monster's effects. I have a Blackwing Cimoo the Poison Wind. If you control no monsters and have this card in your hand, you can banish 1 other Blackwing monster from your hand and place this thing from your... Wait, what? If you control no monsters and have this card in your hand, you can banish 1 other Blackwing monster from your hand. Place 1 Black Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone. Then either send this card to the graveyard or immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon it without tributing. Okay. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except dark monsters, and you can only use this effect of Blackwing Cimoo of the Poison Wind once per turn. During the end phase, you have to send this thing placed by this effect to the graveyard. Oh, send the Black Whirlwind, sorry, placed by this effect to the graveyard, and if you do, you take 1000 damage, which, that kind of sucks, but... Anywho, Blackwing Abrolhos, the Mega Quick. Pretty beefy guy, 2600, 1800. Cannot be special summoned. Any monster that battles this thing is not destroyed by that battle and returns to the hand after damage calculation once per turn during your main phase. 1, you can have this card lose 1000 attack and then return all cards in your opponent's spell and trap zone to their hand. I don't think that's until end of turn, so if you use that ability more than 3 times, you're going to have a creature sitting there with 0 attack. Well, technically it would be negative. I guess you can only use it twice. Sudri, the Phantom Glimmer. 1400, 1400. When this thing is normal summoned, you can add 1 card that mentions Blackwing Dragon from your deck to your hand, except for except for this card. Then you contribute 1 monster to special summon this thing. Tribute 1 monster, special summon 1 Phantom Glimmer token. And then take 700 points of damage. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck during the turn that you activate this effect, except synchro monsters, and you can only use this effect once per turn. That is a lot of text. Alfin the Raven. If you control a face-up Blackwing monster, you can normal summon this thing without tributing. But if you do, you have to change the battle position of when you do, you change the battle position of 1 monster your opponent controls. Nice. Zonda the Dusk. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except synchro monsters. You can only use one of the following effects of Blackwings Zonda of the Dust once each turn, and only once on that turn. If this card is normal summon or special summon, you can target one monster on the field, return it to the hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one level 5 or higher Blackwing monster from your hand or deck, then take damage equal to its attack. Ouch. Sirocco the Dawn, 2,900. If your opponents control a monster, you can normal summon this or set it without tributing, and once per turn during your main phase. You can target one Blackwing monster you control. Till the end of this turn, it gains attack equal to the combined attack of all the other Blackwing monsters currently on the field except for itself. And for the rest of the turn, that's the only monster that can attack. And finally, the last monster is Blackwing Chris, the Crack of Dawn. 19 under 300, so really weak on the defense, but if you control a Blackwing monster other than this thing, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only do that once per turn. And then once per turn, this card can't be destroyed by spells or traps. So, pretty cool. I've got an Against the Wind. Select one Blackwing monster in your graveyard, take damage equal to its attack, and then add it to your hand. Cards for Black Feathers. Remove a Blackwing monster from your hand to draw 2 cards. You can't special summon during the same turn that you activate this card. And you can only do that once per turn. I have a Black Whirlwind, of course, which when this Blackwing monster is normal summoned to your side of the field, you can add a Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand that has less attack than that monster. Pretty crazy helpful. I also have Black Feather Whirlwind. Once per turn, if you special summon a Dark Synchro monster from the extra deck, except during the damage step, you can target one of your Blackwing monsters or Blackwing Dragon that is banished or in your graveyard, with less attack than that special summon monster. Special summon it. Once per turn, if a dark monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can remove one Black Feather counter from your field instead. That is insane. Blackwing Booby Trap, because of course now we have to deal with all this. Traps. If it's set and your opponent destroys it, they take 1,000 damage and you get to draw a card. Fake Feather. You can send a Blackwing monster from your hand to the graveyard, then select a normal trap in your opponent's graveyard, and this thing becomes that trap. Twin Shadow, I have 2 copies of this. Shuffle your 2 of your Blackwing monsters, 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner, that are banished or in your graveyard, into the deck, extra deck. Special summon 1 Blackwing monster, 1 Blackwing Synchro monster, or Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck, whose level equals the total levels of the 2 monsters. If you control 2 or more Blackwing monsters, you can activate this card from your hand instead of having to put it as a set card. Backlash. Activate only when your opponent's monster declares a direct attack while you have 5 or more Blackwings in your graveyard. Destroy all monsters your opponent controls. 2 copies of Black Thunder. Activate when a Blackwing monster you control is destroyed by battle, sent to the graveyard. You get to do 400 damage to your opponent for each card in your opponent's control currently. Black Return, when exactly 1 Blackwing monster and no other monster is special summoned, target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and gain life points equal to that monster's attack. Then, if you do, you get to return it to the hand. Delta Crow, Anti-Reverse. Activate only while you control a face-up Blackwing monster. If you control exactly 3, you can activate this from your hand, though. Destroy all face-down spell and trap cards. So that one plus the, was it the Backlash? Yeah, it was the Backlash, wasn't it? Yeah. That one plus the Backlash is essentially like a full board wipe if you can pull them both off in the same turn. Blackwing Revenge. When a wing beast type monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you get to make 2 Blackwing Black Crest tokens. Blackback. And during your turn, you can select a Blackwing monster with 2,000 or less attack in your graveyard. Special summon it. You can't draw. You cannot normal summon or set for the rest of the turn after you activate this, though. Blackbird Close. When a monster an opponent controls activates its effect, you can send 1 face-up Blackwing monster you control to the graveyard. Negate the activation if you do destroy it, then you can special summon 1 Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck. If you control a Blackwing Synchro monster or Blackwing Dragon, you can activate this thing from your hand instead of having to set it. And finally, 2 copies of Black Sonic. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, On a Blackwing monster you control, you can banish all face-up attack monsters your opponent controls, and if you control exactly 3 Blackwing monsters, you can activate this from your hand. The final 3 cards in this deck are 2 field spells, and then 1 really cool card. The first field spell is Mountain to support my wing beasts, all of them getting plus 200 in attack and defense. The other is the Mystic Plasma Zone, which will affect all my Blackwing monsters in particular, giving them all 500 attack and 400 defense. Except for, like, the few that actually are made of light or earth, for whatever reason. And then finally, the card I really, really love in this deck. It's one of my absolute favorites in my collection. It is my first edition, Earthbound Immortal Rirakusha Raska. I think this one fits so well with the Blackwings because first off, it fits the really color scheme of the Blackwings. Second off, the Blackwings have like a very First Nations kind of theme to them, I feel. And though this isn't the right, although this is more like South America instead of North America, I still felt like this really fit like well with the theme. And then finally, I just love the way this card works. So you can only have 1 face-up Earthbound Immortal monster on the field, and you have to have a field spell in order to keep it in play. When your opponent can select this thing for an attack. This thing can attack your opponent directly. When this thing is normal summon, you can return up to 3 cards you control to your deck, except for this thing, and then discard the same number of cards from your opponent's hand at random. For each card your opponent discards, this thing gets 1,000 extra attack. So basically you can boost this thing to 3,100 attack, and then attack your opponent directly with it. And so I find that's just like a really clutch way to win the game, potentially. And yeah, that's my Blackwings deck. So as I say, this is the deck that I wanted to profile today in tribute to Cimoo, an amazing content creator who will be dearly missed by many. And now we will crack this pack of Ninja Turtles and see what we get, and we'll go home. Well, not home. I have to go over to the Dollarama, which is now open, and get Kaiba his livers. But after that, we're going home. We have a mutant token, and I'm guessing mutagen? Hey! Who called it? Alright. Let's see. Next up... Oh, I forgot. The land will be on the back too, won't it? We'll show the land next. Why not? Okay, we'll put the land at the front. Here we go. You got the mutagen? We got foot headquarters. Ooh, that's a second copy of that one. I like that one, though. It's very flavorful. Getting inside will be easy. Getting to Shredder might even be doable. Getting back out, that's going to be hard. Taps for black and white. Enters tapped, gives you a life. I love the artwork on that one. It's beautiful. Ton of rats. 1 and a black, 2/2. For a rat, pay 4 and a black and return this thing from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Nice. The Rat King's subjects are everywhere you don't want to be. Bot bashing time. 3 and a red. Deals 6 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, it gets exiled instead. Nice. Well, I'd say we redecorated the place nicely, Raphael says. Make your move. 2 and a white. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with power 4 or greater. Ooh, that's nice at instant speed. For a moment, there is only relentless snow and frozen breath. I like that one a lot, actually. Leo is my favorite Ninja Turtle, and like that is really cool art. I like that one. Tenderize. 1 and a green. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. Get back, y'all! No, get back, all y'all! Stay away from me! I ain't safe, ya hear? Ain't no friend! I'm a monster! That should be Leatherhead talking, but I guess they didn't have room to put Leatherhead beside it. Shredder's Revenge. 2 and a black. You get to choose to either have a player discard 2 cards, or a player draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. That is a really nice one, because you get a lot of versatility out of this card. And tonight I dine on turtle soup. Negate. Ooh, that's the first negate I've pulled in this art. I like that one. 1 and a blue. Counter target non-creature spell, of course. You guys seriously tried to do this with jump kicks? Foot Mystic. 3 and a black for a 2/4 Human Ninja Warlock. Lifelink. When this creature enters, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, create a 1/1 black ninja creature token. Nice. Mashima would protect the soul of Oroku Saki at any cost. Cool. Hard one Jite. 1 and a red. Equipped creature has double. Ooh, nice. Equipped 2. It was fitting that the most dangerous turtle bore a weapon of peace. Karai, Future of the Foot. Nice. I've been talking about how I want to build a Ninja's deck, and in particular, I'm hoping to do blue, black, and either white or green. I haven't decided which way to go on that. This is going to be good if I go the white way, though. Sneak 2 and a white or black. Otherwise, it costs 1 in a white and black. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If her sneak cost was paid this turn, instead return it to the battlefield. Ooh, nice. That's a very good card indeed. Raphael, Tough Turtle. That's our turtle for the pack. 1 and a red, 1/3. Whenever another creature you control enters, he deals 1 damage to target opponent. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. I wish he was an ally, because then I could put him in my allies deck with my avatars, but that's still a good card for sure. Northwind Avatar. Ooh. Dragon Spirit Avatar. 2 blue and a red for a 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you may put a card you own from outside the game into your... Ah, that card is not good in Commander. That's sad. Flying. Glyph has claimed to be a survivor of an alien war, a deposed monster of weather, and the last of the dinosaurs. Whatever the truth, his origin stories always bear a lesson. Interesting. Well, I still think Karai might be my favorite one so far, but the Tough Turtle was a good one. That one makes me a little sad, because we can't use it in Commander. Ooh, we got Turtle Van, though. That's good. Whenever this vehicle attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature that crewed it this turn. Then, if that creature is a mutant, ninja, or turtle, you get to double the number of +1/+1 counters on it, which is nice. It only costs 1 to crew, so it's really easy to do, but you could crew it with as many creatures as you want. And then, finally, Mutant Town Musicians. 2 and a red for a 2/4 with trample. And whenever another creature you control enters, this thing gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Alright. Not bad, not bad. Yeah. I am definitely happy with that pack, for sure. We definitely ripped some cool stuff. That one I'm hoping is maybe worth a little bit of money. I can sell it or trade it to somebody for something. Either that, or I'll just hang on to it because the art is really flavorful. Or the art and the text is flavorful, but I just won't be able to play that card ever, unfortunately. Anywho, one more time, I just want to say how much we all love and appreciated you, Cimoo, and I hope that you would have enjoyed this video. And not that you would have ever seen my stuff anyways, because, you know, I'm a really small content creator, and I do mostly Magic stuff now anyways, but I just want to say that you were an amazing person, and you created a wonderful space for all of us to do the thing we love. And so we really appreciate and will miss you, and I want to wish your family well in this difficult time, and yeah, we're going to end on that. So thank you for watching, everyone. Much love to you all, and have a wonderful day. Okay? Bye.